welcome back to the Ask Johnny channel. Still, I believe, the least watched show in YouTube history. But today we're talking about Israel. That's right, Israel.
But under the full moon, the dream of love became a nightmare.
G'day, Johnny. Here we are, back for another exciting episode, and we've got a letter from Bigfoot. Bigfoot in Saskatchewan. I don't think it's the Bigfoot, Johnny. The real Bigfoot, Johnny. But Bigfoot asks Johnny, the Israeli-Palestinian problem continues. Do you see any end to this vexing issue, Johnny? Signed, Bigfoot in Saskatchewan. Thanks, Bigfoot in Saskatchewan, Johnny. Will it ever end? Israel, Johnny, any end in sight to all this bloody trouble? Oh, well, I'm not too sure about that. It seems to be going on and on. Oh, it's been going on for bloody years, Johnny. And this morning I woke to see on my bloody television screen this.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you. As you see, the police there, there's already some trouble. They're beating the crowd back here.
Jesus Christ! Have a look what's going on there.
But I'm not sure what's going on here. You can see these pictures too, right?
I mean, it's been a long, bloody hard struggle for the Israelis, let's face it.
It was tense in Tel Aviv on May the 14th, 1948. It was a day of which all future Jewish generations would never cease to speak and dream. The day of Israel's birth. His end was sudden, unexpected, and tragic.
His unrelenting search for a solution ended abruptly and tragically on the afternoon of September 17th, 1948.
And there was the 6-Day War, Johnny.
The war for the destruction of Israel's independence had some inevitable effects.
Get around the northern perimeter of Jerusalem.
The brigade fought their way against well-prepared Jordanian defenses through Jenin, through fierce fighting at Kabatia, through the city walls at St. Stephen's Gate, and spread through the narrow alleys of the old city.
But above all else, the Munich Olympics are remembered for putting terrorism on the center stage, when 11 Israeli Olympians were massacred by Palestinian terrorists.
Oh, Jesus, the Olympics, Christ almighty.
Open fire and a shootout ensued with the more heavily armed terrorists, during which time the terrorists threw a grenade into one of the helicopters, killing the 4 bound Israelis and the pilots inside, and then the terrorists gunned down the remaining 5 hostages in the other helicopter. At the end of the day, 11 Israelis had been killed, along with 1 policeman and 5 terrorists.
And each time the Israelis thrashed the living daylights out of the opposition, they tended to take a little bit more land and a little bit more land, which sort of rubbed the opposition up the wrong way, to put it politely. I mean, they've had their troubles over the years. Yeah, well, but that doesn't make them bloody angels, that's for sure, Johnny. This young Al Jazeera reporter, Johnny, she was shot dead while the Israelis were doing some bloody raid, as they tend to do every second day.
A leading Palestinian-American journalist has been shot dead while covering an Israeli military raid in the West Bank. Shockingly, the woman was killed as her Al Jazeera colleagues watched in the newsroom.
And not only was she shot dead, Johnny, but she was shot dead right through there between her helmet and her flak jacket.
And tonight there are calls for a joint investigation.
Oh, that doesn't look bloody suspicious, I don't know what is.
This morning I woke up to the news of the killing of Shireen Abu Akleh. Shireen was a veteran journalist for Al Jazeera. She was a mentor, a colleague, and above all, she was my friend. Shireen was killed while she was doing her job reporting on an Israeli military raid taking place in the occupied West Bank.
Now, she being a Palestinian and all that sort of thing, and Al Jazeera is it's a bloody Middle Eastern channel that's funded by people who are not, shall we say, sympathetic to the Israeli cause, but that doesn't matter. I've watched them a long time, and they're pretty bloody straight down the line, old Al Jazeera.
We love each other. What are you going to do about it?
Then, of course, Johnny, the young lady who was brutally shot down, I reckon, it came time for a funeral.
Mourners gathered outside a hospital in East Jerusalem, here to bury Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. Israeli riot police arrived soon after.
But Johnny, does this footage actually show Israeli bloody soldiers giving a hiding to bloody people going to a funeral?
It would have been a very peaceful walk, but now things are escalating. This is going to delay everything significantly. There'll also be big problems within the area itself. Within the area itself is Sheikh Jarrah. You may remember protests taking place in Sheikh Jarrah over the last year where Israelis forcibly evicted Palestinians.
Yeah, but it doesn't warrant getting a bloody hiding, though, does it?
The army, they're pulling off Palestinian flags that mourners have tried to put onto the vehicle as it left. So that the hearse has now left the compound. The army, they're stopping mourners from leaving the compound and accompanying the hearse. But a lot of people, though, still outside. As you can see, they're pulling people now out of the hearse. Mourners who were inside the hearse with Shireen's casket are being forcibly removed.
Now, the Palestinians were all fired up, I know, and all that sort of bloody stuff, but that doesn't mean you send in the fucking army to give them a hiding at the funeral like that.
Officers charged the crowd, throwing stun grenades, attacking pallbearers. At one point, the coffin falls, almost dropping to the ground before being lifted. Outrage at the scene started here and spread.
We've just seen the video coming from this, and it's very shocking to us.
The White House called the images disturbing.
We regret the intrusion into what should have been a peaceful procession.
I was bloody horrified. I didn't like seeing that at all. All those poor bastards, they're trying to hold the coffin up, for God's sake. And they're getting whipped and bloody belted and kicked and tear gas and all that sort of shit.
At one point, the coffin falls, almost dropping to the ground before being lifted.
That's the most blatantly disrespectful act I've seen for quite some time, Johnny. Israel or wherever.
Evicted Palestinian families, already a source of quite big attention. A lot of those families are...
I can imagine if that happened out here, Johnny. Oh, Jesus, imagine that. And I have to say, Johnny, if shit like this continues, the Ask Johnny channel, we're going to have to reevaluate our support for the Israeli cause. Yeah, well, vision like that, Johnny, it's a bloody, it's not good. Thank you, Johnny, again. The thousands of viewers out there, thank you, and we'll see you next time on the Ask Johnny channel. It's a pleasure, Johnny.